Hello everyone, welcome to Breathe, a podcast series by the Africa Biodiversity Collaborative Group, where we take you on a captivating journey into the world of Africa's biodiversity conservation. In this podcast, we strive to be at the forefront of biodiversity conservation efforts, delving into the intricacies of Africa's diverse ecosystems, extraordinary wildlife, and unparalleled landscapes. Our aim is to shed light on the pressing issues facing Africa's biodiversity, ignite action, and foster collaborations that bring about effective solutions. Join us as we engage with leading experts, passionate conservationists, and local communities who work tirelessly to safeguard Africa's natural heritage. So whether you're a nature enthusiast, scientist, policymaker, or simply curious about the environment, this podcast is tailor-made for you. Together, let's embark on a journey to understand, protect, and celebrate the immense beauty and irreplaceable natural heritage of Africa. In this particular episode, our aim is to grasp the importance of forests, freshwater ecosystems, and wetlands, as well as the integral roles in supporting and maintaining life on our planet. Present with us today are two esteemed guests. Let me start with Dorcas Kikwai-Seno, representing EcoSafi Africa, and she brings her experience as an environmental activist to share insights on optimal methods for preserving our freshwater ecosystems through responsible forest management. Additionally, we have Wanjohi Kabukuru, an award-winning international environmental investigative journalist whose specialty covers environment, geopolitics, forests and freshwater ecosystems, conservation, as well as the Indian Ocean marine development. In this episode, Mr. Kabukuru will provide a comprehensive understanding on the significance of forests in the context of safeguarding our precious freshwater ecosystems, that is, our lakes, rivers, and wetlands. I'm your host, Laban Clifton Serio. And now to our guests, Karibuni Sana, Dorcas, and Wanjohi to Breathe.
Asante Sana.
Thank you very much. Shukran.
I'd like to start with you, Dorcas, from EcoSafi Africa. Please tell us more about EcoSafi and the work that you do.
I run EcoSafi Africa. EcoSafi Africa is a climate startup dedicated to providing tree growing services to companies and organizations as part of their corporate social responsibilities. We also work to conduct climate education as part of our tree growing projects to create awareness among the communities we work with. Some of the main problems that we are working to address is like deforestation. So we work to contribute to reforestation efforts, also as a way to mitigate the effects of climate change. Tree planting projects, as we realized, have become unsustainable. Many organizations or companies are planting trees, but no one is going back to check on whether these trees are growing, whether they are surviving, whether they are thriving in the places where they were planted. So because of this problem, we decided we are going to step in and provide tree growing services where we ensure that we monitor, we ensure there is maintenance, we ensure that the communities are well equipped to maintain the trees so that the survival rate is high. We also realize that there's limited awareness, the understanding of environmental challenges. And so we provide climate education services to communities we mobilize as we run our tree growing project so that they take ownership of this project so that they are well equipped to ensure the sustainability of our project. So yeah, this is what EcoSafi does. And it's been a great journey, and we're looking forward to doing even more beyond what we have done so far.
So, key question is, why are forests considered vital for maintaining diverse ecosystems?
So, as we know very well, forests are home to a vast diversity of life. In fact, an estimated 80% of the world's terrestrial biodiversity is found in forests. That means plants, animals, insects, and different microorganisms. Here in Kenya alone, forests are home to over 1,000 plant species, 250 bird species, and 150 mammal species. So you can see, you can just picture the important role that forests play in providing a habitat for different types of species. These forests also provide essential ecosystem services, like regulating climate, purifying water, providing food and shelter to both wildlife and even the people that this forest serves. And because of this, forests play a crucial role in biodiversity conservation due to the rich and the complex ecosystems that it holds. And it's the reason why, even as a country, we are pushing for increased reforestation. Forests also prevent soil erosion, purify water, prevent flooding, and improve air quality. However, we've seen deforestation become rampant, and this is a major threat to biodiversity conservation. In Kenya alone, deforestation is a major problem, and it is estimated that the country has lost about half of its forest cover since the 1960s. And you can just imagine the effect that has had a negative impact on biodiversity and water resources. This means, as a country, we need to do more to conserve our forests so we can help protect our plants, we can help protect our animals and insects and depend on those forests, and so that we can also enjoy the benefits as people that we receive from such forests.
Thank you, Dorcas, for those great insights. I'll not let you go, so please pause there as I bring in Wanjohi. So let me get your thoughts as well, Wanjohi, just based off on what Dorcas mentioned, just looking at, how deforestation has really affected the wetlands. I just want to cross it over to you and, just share your thoughts on how the impact of deforestation on wetlands and why you're so passionate about environmental journalism.
It's actually what we are having as a discussion was what drove to that passion. So many years ago, when the Mau escarpment was being decimated, there was unparalleled and unprecedented deforestation taking place in the entire Mau escarpment, which is a major water tower for the country that is Kenya. Like everyone else, also I did believe that Mau escarpment is just a Kenyan affair. Only as I was pursuing the story deeper is when I realized it isn't. And the things that we've been discussing here, freshwater sources, forests, and wetlands. In Mau escarpment, you have the Napuyapi swamp, which is a wetland. And that's where the Mara River originates from. The Mara River is a huge lifeline, not just for Kenya, but also for Tanzania. And when it passes through Tanzania, it brings yet to life another good swamp that is known to provide for many lives in Tanzania. And here was the most interesting bit. Before it drains, the Mara River drains to the Lake Victoria, is that at the time when Kenya were busy cutting down trees within the Mau ecosystem, Tanzania, and most unlikely of quarters, Egypt sent emissaries, sent envoys to demand that Kenya stops the deforestation of the Mau forest. So we've all been living in this belief that Mau belongs to Kenyans. But in reality is that Mau is a geopolitical natural resource shared across Africa. Why Egypt? Because they needed the water flowing from the Mau River to continue to flow into Lake Victoria so that they can continue to get their water. So it isn't just that when they talk of the River Nile in isolation, pitting Ethiopia and Sudan and South Sudan to some extent. No, it actually even goes down up to the Mau ecosystem. And that's how important it is, not just to the wildlife within the well-known game reserves, and not also to the lakes like Nakuru, the lakes in Rift Valley, which also feed from the Mau escarpment. So that's how important forests are. They not only give life to many, but they sustain livelihoods and support other connected ecosystems. And the chain goes on all the way to the Mediterranean Sea. So when I got into this, when I realized how important environmental reporting is, it is much more than what you just see, because when you go further downstream, you realize they are supported with things that happen miles and miles away. Look for the example of the Tana River. It comes all the way from the Kenyan highlands, travels 1,000 kilometers to the sea. But look at the people it supports all through. And that's when we realize how important freshwater ecosystems are. In the absence of proper management practices, what happens is that you breed conflict. And this microcosm, this small example of the Mau, you can translate it to the Lake Chad Basin, translate it to the River Niger, Mano River in Equatorial Africa. So these are the things that did drive me into environmental journalism. So these are critical ecosystems meant to be managed in a way that is very dicey, and it involves a lot of diplomacy, not just within communities, but also internationally.
Thanks, Wanjohi. This actually brings our attention to something truly crucial, the Mau forest. Now, it's not just a lush expanse of greenery. It's actually a lifeline for over 10 million people spread across the East African nations. The Mau forest is nothing short of a natural wonder. But here's the catch, folks. The recent Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, that's IPCC, report warns us that rising CO2 emissions are triggering climate disasters worldwide from 2021 to 2040. Fortunately, forests can act as a vital ally in this fight by absorbing carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. But the sad truth is, nearly half of our world's ancient forests have been cleared over the past 10,000 years. Protecting the Mau forest is paramount because it's not just about trees and wildlife, it's about Kenya's and the entire region's economic well-being. And more importantly, it plays a pivotal role in mitigating climate change by curbing deforestation in tropical regions. So let me get your thoughts as well, Wanjohi. What can we do now to enhance reforestation efforts, and what strategies can be employed towards this?
Deforestation is like a major threat, not just to livelihoods, but it's a threat now security-wise. It breeds conflict, because in the long run, multiple effects that arise from deforestation and that kind of thing are things to do like drought, lack of water, which ultimately breed communities like we always see during drought seasons in Kenya, much of all of eastern horn of Africa. Whenever there is drought, there will be flare-ups, communities, pastoral communities and agricultural communities. And the reason is normally water resources, access to water resources and pasture. So there is no question about it. It's a question of, everything must be done to protect water resources, to protect these natural resources and livelihoods, because the alternative is not pleasant to anyone. So everything must be done to encourage afforestation, to encourage even the emergence of new forests, so that communities can continue to benefit, can continue to access the water and the pastures as they've always done. And also the agricultural communities can continue to do what they've been doing all along. The other thing is that it's not essentially a governmental thing, but the government is the one which is supposed to run the entire show, because we are talking of scale and communities can only do so much. But when it comes to scale, it's the government which can mobilize heavily in terms of scale and across a wide cross-section of communities, and even can do like the international lobbying and that kind of thing. So for that, it's just about getting it right. Simply because if you don't get it right, you're facing the nightmare of conflict. And that's why it's important that when communities engage in this natural resource management tools, communities engage in sharing and by benefit sharing of these natural resources, these must be encouraged at all costs, because they are like what you would call the day-to-day running of making sure that we avoid both conflict and then we nurture in sustainable development. Development can only take place where everyone is at least comfortable with the status the way it is, rather than when they are uncomfortable that they don't have water. Definitely there will be no development, and instead we will have community conflicts taking place.
Thank you, Wanjohi. From this, we see that the absence of proper forest management practices breeds conflicts, citing the Mau forest as a striking example. This situation mirrors challenges faced in other regions such as the Chad Basin, River Niger, and Mano River in Equatorial Africa. The Mau forest is a shared resource that binds us all together, reminding us of our collective responsibility to protect and nurture our planet. Dorcas, it's great to see the work that you're doing with different companies and organizations to fulfill the corporate social responsibility, that CSR commitments. You'll agree with me that water scarcity poses a major challenge in reforestation efforts in Africa, especially in arid and semi-arid areas where drought is prominent. How has EcoSafi been able to overcome this challenge to ensure sustainable and successful reforestation?
That's actually a very, very good question. And it's very timely, especially now that Kenya has this ambitious goal to plant 15 billion trees in 10 years. Water scarcity is a major challenge. And it's a challenge we've been facing as a company, especially in terms of maintaining or monitoring or sustaining the projects that we have been running. And we've had to find ways to deal this challenge of water scarcity so that our reforestation efforts are actually sustainable. Some of the solutions that we have been able to implement on the ground is one, in focusing on selecting drought-resistant tree species and ensuring that this particular tree species that we have selected are adapted to the arid conditions in the places, in the areas where we plant these trees, and that they require minimal amounts of water. So we go to the ground, we analyze what kind of species are thriving in that area, and we actually plant native or indigenous species of trees that have evolved and survive in these harsh, dry conditions. Another solution that we have seen being implemented, especially with communities, is actually rainwater harvesting. We've seen communities actually set up systems where they collect water during the rainy season and then ensure that they water the tree seedlings that we plant during the dry season. Sometimes this might not really help them through the dry seasons, but at least it does something in terms of ensuring some of the trees or a majority of the trees are actually are able to survive. Another solution that I would personally recommend, especially as a country as we work towards reforestation efforts, is water efficient irrigation methods and in the type of irrigation that ensures that water wastage is actually minimized and water is delivered directly to the roots of the trees that are planted. I recently read about a product that has been developed, I think somewhere in Europe, from biodegradable materials that is installed around a tree seedling during planting, and it collects and stores water and delivers this water directly to the root through drip irrigation. And because of its design, it also protects the seedling from animal destruction. It even prevents weeds from growing around the trees. So this solution would actually work if we're able to locally come up with our own local innovations or designs that can be able to provide such solutions. So these are just a few of examples of ways to address water scarcity, especially in our reforestation efforts here in Kenya. And by tapping into them, I believe we can help to ensure that our reforestation efforts are successful and actually sustainable. People think that climate action is, those big things, going to the Africa Climate Summit and talking about climate finance. It's not just that, it's in the little things we do individually at home. It's in the little ways we change our lifestyles and participate in the change that we want to see.
Thank you very much, Dorcas Kikwai-Seno, for being here today. And of course, for the benefit of our audience, she's representing Eco-Safi Africa. We're also honored to have none other than Wanjohi Kabukuru, who's an award-winning international environment and investigative journalist. Thank you so much for your insights, ladies and gentlemen. Throughout this episode, we've really learned a lot, especially on the importance of taking care of our different water bodies. Nearly 1 in every 4 trees live in Africa. This presents a huge opportunity as we look for nature-based solutions in conserving our freshwater ecosystems. That concludes today's episode of Breathe. Stay tuned for more inspiring and thought-provoking discussions on our magnificent planet. Remember to subscribe, like, share, and connect with us. Explore more on our website, that's on www.abcg.org. Follow us on Twitter at abcgconserve. Connect with us on Facebook and like our page as well, that's at abcgconserve. I've been your host, Laban Clifford Serio. Don't forget to breathe, enjoy, and take care of our planet. See you again in our next episode.